Hi there, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Doc Allen, the producer and engineer of the Katsia Experience podcast. We are going to look at subjects that will help you become a better person. We'll do this by uplifting your self-esteem and maintaining your mental and physical well-being. I invite you to stop by our webpage, katsia.org. We have interesting articles and occasional ebooks for sale. So let's get on with the show. Here's Rusty and Karen.
Usually when we talk about a memory, we tend to think of it like a photograph.
Right, like a snapshot.
Exactly. It is this static image, right? A discrete event with a very clear start and a very clear finish.
Yeah, you went to the beach, you took the picture, and there it is.
You framed it. It is just neatly categorized in your brain.
It is a bounded, localized event. You know exactly when it happened and where it fits on the timeline of your life.
It is clean. But then, you encounter an idea like the one we are doing a deep dive into today.
Yeah.
And suddenly that neat little photo album concept, it just completely shatters.
Oh, completely. Because we really aren't looking at clean boundaries today at all.
No, we are not. We are unpacking a really fascinating piece of writing today. It is simply titled, "A Long Hot Summer Has a Way of Leaving Memories T." And then it just trails off right there at the letter T.
Which is such an evocative way to title it.
It really is. And the piece essentially argues that a long, hot summer doesn't just change the weather. It fundamentally alters the architecture of human memory itself.
Yeah.
The entire atmosphere becomes the memory.
It really is the definition of an ambient, almost full-body form of recall.
Right.
It doesn't give you dates and times. It gives you a temperature, a weight in the air, a very specific physical feeling that anchors you to the past.
And that is exactly our mission today. For you listening, we are exploring why the memories of a long, hot summer linger so deeply in our minds.
And they really do.
They do. And we want to find out what the sheer, overwhelming intensity of the season can teach us about how we navigate our own lives, long after the temperature drops.
What immediately strikes me about the concepts we're looking at is how they reframe the transition of the seasons entirely.
How so?
Well, it forces you to realize that this isn't just a meteorological shift. It is not just about the Earth tilting on its axis and the UV index going up.
Right. It is bigger than that.
It is fundamentally a shift in our internal rhythms. I mean, when your external environment changes that drastically, when the heat and the light become almost oppressive, your internal psychological landscape is forced to adapt right alongside it.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because there is an incredibly strange dynamic set up right out of the gate here in this text.
Yeah, there is.
We were talking about, quote, endless sunlight and heavy evenings, and how these lead to, quote, slower rhythms of life.
Which makes sense.
It does, but here's the bizarre part. It creates moments that are somehow both completely ordinary and utterly unforgettable.
Yes.
It is like summer acts as a funhouse mirror for time.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Right. Just like a curved mirror stretches your physical reflection, the sheer sensory weight of a 95-degree afternoon kind of stretches your cognitive perception of the hour.
It warps it.
Exactly. How can an afternoon feel incredibly, almost punishingly long, yet the moments within it seem to slip away too quickly? It is a total paradox.
What's fascinating here is exactly that paradox and really the cognitive mechanics behind it.
Okay, tell me about the mechanics.
Think about the specific physical reality of the season. The heavy evenings, the tiring heat. When you are physically moving through heavy, draining heat, biology sort of dictates that you just cannot rush.
You physically can't.
Right. Your body is working overtime just to regulate its temperature. Your heart rate changes. Your blood vessels dilate. You are physically forced off of your typical autopilot and pushed into that slower rhythm.
It's a forced pause.
Exactly, a forced pause. And this literal inability to sprint through your day the way you might in the crisp, highly efficient air of autumn, that is the precise mechanism that elevates seemingly ordinary moments into unforgettable ones.
Because your brain is suddenly forced to actually pay attention again.
Exactly. I mean, normally our brains are incredibly efficient dilution machines.
Deletion machines.
Yeah, to save cognitive load, we run on autopilot and we just forget 99% of our daily routines.
Right. You don't remember your commute from 3 weeks ago?
You don't. But extreme environmental factors completely disrupt that. You step outside into endless sunlight, or you feel the physical weight of a humid evening settling on your skin, and your brain snaps to attention.
It has to. It's taking in all this new data.
You are taking in significantly more sensory data. You feel the sweat, you notice the glare, you feel the drag in your muscles. And because you are hyper-aware of your environment, time seems to stretch out.
Wow.
The hour feels long because you are feeling every single minute of it.
You aren't just skipping to the end of the day in your head.
Right. And because you are finally present, because you are forced to actually be there for the ordinary things, those moments get anchored into your long-term memory.
That makes profound sense.
But then when you look back on them later, because they were so rich and dense with sensory input, they feel like brief flashes of intense life that just passed far too quickly.
Yeah, the contrast is wild when you think about it. If you are rushing from your car to your office in the winter because it is freezing outside, you aren't experiencing the journey at all.
Not at all.
You are just trying to survive the transit. Get me inside.
Yeah, get out of this cold.
But in the summer, you have this intense season of contrasts. You have the tiring heat paired directly with this quiet beauty.
Yeah.
You have the geometry of the day getting completely warped. A single Tuesday afternoon stretches out into infinity while you are in it. But then looking back, the whole month of July feels like it just vanished in a blink.
It is a warping of time that is deeply psychological. And because it breaks your routine so thoroughly, it shifts what we actually prioritize.
How do you mean?
Well, when the clock slows down, the things we value begin to change.
Which really brings us to the actual architecture of a summer memory. Because this heavy heat forces that slower rhythm, it completely changes the types of experiences we end up valuing.
It really does.
It shifts the focus entirely away from grand scheduled events, and it moves it directly onto shared micro-moments.
Right, the small stuff.
Exactly. We aren't talking about remembering a meticulously planned 2-week vacation to Europe. We are talking about finding warmth in shared experiences.
Like what?
Like conversations that last late into the night, or seeing a familiar neighborhood in a different light, taking a small adventure that just breaks the routine.
And those are very specific types of memories. The text shows us that the simplest moments suddenly carry this immense special meaning.
Yeah.
A walk at sunset, the peacefulness of a summer morning, the sound of rain after a humid day.
I have to push back a little here, though. Let's just play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay, sure.
Because when I think of heavy heat, I often just think of sweating, swatting mosquitoes, and generally being miserable.
That is fair.
Right. So how does being physically uncomfortable actually translate into a better, more profound memory? Is the heat simply forcing us out of our daily routines, or does the weather itself actually become an active character in these shared experiences? Because when you mention that specific sensory relief, the sound of rain after a humid day, it feels like the weather isn't just a pleasant backdrop.
That is a brilliant distinction to make, and honestly, it is the crux of why these memories linger so powerfully. The weather is absolutely an active character here.
It's not just the setting.
No, it is not a backdrop. It is the catalyst. Let's look at the biological and psychological reality of breaking routine. A familiar place only looks different to you because the endless sunlight allows you to see it at 9 p.m.
Oh, right.
An hour when you would normally be sitting inside in the dark during the winter.
That's true.
The slower pace forced by the heat allows you to finally notice the architecture of a building you have driven past 1,000 times.
Wait, so you're saying the physical weight of the air is actually what forces that shift? The weather actually dictates the parameters of your life in that moment?
Completely. Think about the late night conversation.
Okay.
Why are you having a conversation late into the night?
I mean, usually because it's nice out.
Exactly. Or often it is because it was simply too hot to sleep, or the daytime was too oppressive to do anything social.
Oh, that makes sense.
The dark brings a slight drop in temperature that literally draws people out onto their porches or into the streets. The warmth of the temperature physically enables the warmth of the connection.
You can't do that in February.
You can't comfortably sit outside talking until 2 in the morning in February. The environment is actively creating the space for that connection to happen.
That is such a vivid way to look at it. The weather is the reason the connection exists. And what about the rain? You mentioned the sound of rain after a humid day. Why does that stick in the mind so vividly?
Because that is a shared biological and psychological release of tension.
Release of tension.
Yeah, humidity builds up like a physical weight. That heavy evening feeling where the air literally feels thick in your lungs. Everyone around you is feeling that same low-grade physical stress.
Yeah, everybody's a little cranky.
Right. So when the rain finally breaks the humidity, you literally breathe easier. Your nervous system downregulates. It is a profound sensory experience that happens to you and the people around you simultaneously. The relief is palpable. The weather doesn't just accompany the memory, it is the emotional arc of the memory.
Think about your own life listening to this right now. You probably don't remember what you did on a random Tuesday in February, 3 years ago.
Probably not.
But you likely remember sitting on a porch with a friend during a massive heat wave, watching a thunderstorm roll in.
Because you felt it.
Because in that moment, you were entirely immersed in the sensory experience. You felt the lingering warmth, you saw the light fade, you felt the pressure drop, you were forced to be completely present.
And that exact presence is what bridges the gap between simple nostalgia and a profound realization.
Right.
This isn't just about fondly remembering a sunburn and a melting ice cream cone.
You're listening to the Katsia Experience. I invite you to visit our website at katsia.org. There you'll find a website with a blog and monthly tip to help navigate this thing we call life. Now let's return to our podcast with Rusty and Karen.
Reflection brought on by a long, hot summer pushes into much deeper philosophical territory about how we endure friction.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Ha.
Because there is an incredible layered metaphor at play here.
Oh, absolutely.
The intensity of the season actually mirrors the intensity of life itself. We are talking about challenges, changes, growth, and unexpected joys all happening at the exact same time. The heat is framed almost like a stress test for the soul.
A stress test for the soul is the perfect way to describe it. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we're looking at the fundamental duality of human experience.
The duality.
Yeah, there is a direct link between a physical tessor naf, the fact that tiring heat can severely test your patience, and a psychological lesson.
Testing your patience, right?
The heat tests your patience, yes, but in doing so, it teaches a deep, embodied appreciation for comfort, rest, and renewal.
It's saying the friction is the point.
Yes.
The friction of the heat, the way it makes us physically uncomfortable, maybe a little cranky, the way it makes everything take twice as much effort.
Yeah.
That friction is a prerequisite for experiencing the profound relief of rest.
It is essential.
You cannot deeply appreciate the cool breeze if you haven't first been subjected to the tiring heat. It just doesn't register in your brain.
That is the core psychological insight here. Without the draining, exhausting nature of the heat, the subsequent comfort, rest, and renewal simply wouldn't carry the same transformative weight.
They wouldn't mean anything.
Exactly. The contrast is what gives the relief its meaning. If you are perfectly comfortable all the time, a cool breeze is meaningless. It is just moving air.
Right.
But if you have been sweltering for hours, a cool breeze feels like salvation.
And this is why the intensity of the season mirrors life itself. In life, our periods of immense growth, our massive life changes, and our greatest unexpected joys are almost always intertwined with our most difficult challenges.
They usually happen at the same time.
You don't usually get a neat, tidy period of pure joy followed by a cleanly separated period of challenge. You get the tiring heat and the quiet beauty on the exact same afternoon.
They exist together. You cannot extract the beauty of the summer from the heat of the summer. They are a singular ecosystem.
That's a great way to put it.
And holding both of those realities simultaneously, the profound discomfort and the stunning beauty, requires a massive amount of emotional energy. That is why life's intense periods are so exhausting, just like a long summer day.
It drains you.
It demands your attention. It strips away the numbness of modern routine.
It really makes me think about how often in modern society we try to just engineer the heat completely out of our lives.
Oh, all the time.
We go from an air-conditioned house to an air-conditioned car to an air-conditioned office. We engineer our environments and our schedules so we never have to feel that test of patience, so we never have to experience the friction.
We avoid it at all costs.
But if you engineer out the tiring heat, aren't you also engineering out the unexpected joys? You lose the contrast entirely.
You lose the contrast, and therefore you lose the capacity to form memories that actually matter.
Why?
The reason these long summer memories linger so deeply, long after the days begin to cool, is precisely because they were forged in that intensity.
They were earned.
Right. A perfectly temperature-controlled, frictionless environment rarely produces a profound realization. It is the breaking of routine, the physical test of patience, and the massive subsequent relief that carves a memory into your mind. When you avoid the heat, you avoid the renewal.
Wow. When you avoid the heat, you avoid the renewal. That completely flips how we should look at the things that exhaust us.
It really does.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. The physical heat eventually always breaks.
It has to.
The season fades, the endless sunlight shortens. And what remains is not just the visual memory of warm days, but the deep, lingering feeling they created.
The residue.
Yes, it leaves us with this incredible residue, and the question is, how do we apply it to the rest of the year?
This is where we move from reflection to active application. It is not enough to just look back fondly on the summer.
We have to use it.
The idea here is that a long, hot summer is actually a collection of moments that serve as a reminder to slow down, to actually notice the world around us, and to carry the brightness of that season forward into the darker, colder months ahead.
That's like a blueprint.
It is a blueprint for how to live when the environment is no longer forcing you to slow down.
For you listening right now, this is where these ideas transform into a practical manual for intentional living. It is a challenge to use the memory of summer's slower rhythms as a tool to combat the inevitable frantic rush of the coming months.
Because that rush is coming.
It is. When the weather gets cold and society expects everyone to start rushing again, when that funhouse mirror of summertime shatters and you are thrust back onto a strict, rigid, minute-by-minute schedule, you have to deliberately recall that feeling.
And applying critical thinking to this concept means recognizing your own agency in that moment.
Your agency.
Yeah, we possess the ability to conjure this feeling even when the temperature drops to freezing. The weather was the catalyst that showed us what it feels like to be present. But the actual outcome, the slowing down, the noticing, the deep late-night conversations, those are entirely human actions.
Exactly. We don't actually need the heavy evenings to choose to take a slow walk at sunset.
No, we don't.
We don't need the endless sunlight to choose to look at our familiar surroundings with a sense of wonder and attention. We don't need a heat wave to break our routine. The summer simply reminded us that we are fully capable of living with that level of presence.
The ultimate lesson of the season is that the intensity of life is going to happen regardless of how much we try to control it.
It's unavoidable.
The challenges, the changes, the tiring heat of our personal and professional lives, they will inevitably come. But if we can hold on to the deep appreciation for comfort, rest, and renewal that the summer taught us, we are far better equipped to navigate the colder, faster, more demanding periods of our lives.
We carry it with us.
We carry the brightness forward because we learned how to appreciate it in the crucible of the heat.
We don't have to pack that presence away with the beach towels. It is a state of mind. It is an atmospheric residue that you can intentionally tap into when life feels cold and rigid.
You have the choice.
You can choose to be the one who initiates the small adventure that breaks the routine, even in the middle of freezing winter, because you know the value of the friction.
It is about remembering that the contrast is what makes the memory. You survived the heat, you felt the rain, and you learned the value of the pause.
The concepts we've explored today reveal that the tiring heat and the tested patience of a long summer are exactly what teach us to appreciate comfort and rest.
Without doubt.
Without the exhaustion, the renewal means absolutely nothing. So looking at your own life right now, what tiring heat, what daily friction or exhausting challenge that you are currently trying to avoid might actually be setting the necessary stage for your next great period of profound renewal and appreciation.
I hope you enjoyed the show. I want to invite you to tell your friends and leave a 5-star review on your podcatcher. Until next time, stay safe and stay happy.